All right, Bravs, we're back with another book haul. Army Life. These are 13 books from the Salvation Army. Ironically enough. Army Life, War Department, pamphlet 21, 13th, August 10th, 1944. Obviously, it's a guidebook for your Army life. Sex as a moral manner. Let's be honest about this about this thing right at the beginning. The act with which the section is concerned is sexual intercourse. Many people like to seem smart or sophisticated when they talk about sex. You may sometimes listen to them, but you want to be able to like and respect yourself. If you persist in doing things which you know are wrong, you pay the consequences. Damn, they gave you a moral turpitude lesson. Howl and other poems by the pederast Allen Ginsberg. This is obviously a reprint. 1,150,000 copies. Schlock poetry for schlock people, but it's in great shape. Brand newish, and I could probably sell it for who knows how much anymore. His repute has diminished greatly, rightfully so, because he was a garbage poet. American Chillers, Iron Insects Invade Indiana. Slowly collecting these for no other reason, just to have a bunch of them, and I see them around, and usually they're in great shape, so my kid's too old to read these sort of things, but someone else's kids will read many of them once I compile many of them. Tyranny of Words by Stuart Chase. This is a older book reprint. I have to admit, I don't really know what it's about. I've seen that it's a psychology and philosophy book, but this book is an experiment. Is it possible to explain words with words? Can some of the reasons why it is so difficult for us to communicate with one another by means of language be set forth in the same faulty medium? It is for the reader to judge. I have read a few books which have broadened my understanding of the world in which I live. These contributions I here attempt to pass on. Let's see what some of the topics are. Stroll with the statesman, on facing the world outside. To the left with the economist, to the right with the economist, interpreting the environment, the semantic discipline. Promenade with the philosophers, round and round with the judges, the language of mathematics, meanings for scientists, blah, blah, blah. Did I say cats? Maybe that is the reason why I got it. Cats and babies. Hobie Baker is an illuminating exhibit. How Hobie communicates his high survival. Isn't there a Hobie Baker award for hockey? Or am I making that up? Here beside me on the table as I write, occasionally running the tentative paw through the littered sheets of manuscripts and notes, is Hobie Baker. A tawny yellow tomcat name for a great hockey player. See, I knew I wasn't wrong. Maybe I'll read this chapter out of the book. It's not very long, is it? 57? That's about 8 pages. Stephen King, The Outsider. I bought it only because it's basically a brand new book and could care less about the guy. Don't like his writing. Don't like his style. Any of it. Mary Wollstonecraft. Letters written during a short residence in Sweden, Norway, and Denmark. Obviously, she was part of women's suffrage. I say obviously like I knew, but I actually saw a book on the Dover Book of Women's Movement or whatever it was. 1796. Maybe she wasn't part of the women's suffrage. Maybe I just made that all up. Anyway, I saw a Dover book on her, and I couldn't find it the last time I went, and then I couldn't find this after I found that book, so I didn't get either. And then I did find this, refound this one. So now I have it. Now I have to find the other one. Slapstick, a novel by Kurt Vonnegut. It looks better than it is. Obviously, you can see. It's from the Dubuque Public Library, and it had a hideous, whatchamacallit, jacket on it. Mylar jacket that I've taken off, and the original jacket is actually well preserved. So if I can find a decent copy, even a copy of Slapstick without the jacket, I can place it on there and make a decent pairing of the two. Not a particular fan of Vonnegut either. American Odyssey by Robert Cano, A History of a Great City. I believe it's about Detroit. I mean, this book is well worn. This is obviously a lottery ticket that I noticed when I picked up the book. What year is this from? 87. Yeah, this book's well used. Rapists. What? Rapist ordered to pay $10,000. It's kind of weird you would keep an article about a rapist. What's his name? That's all he was ordered, to pay $10,000? Filed the suit against Ewing, a former employee and shareholder of Wilderness Outfitters in Ann Arbor, for the traumatic effect the 1979 rape has had on her life. She testified that the rape continues to haunt her 7 years after. Ewing is serving a life sentence. Well, good luck getting that money from him. At least he's in prison. Or was at the time. Yeah, this is definitely about Detroit. I recognize the name Pingree. Detroit and vicinity. What's the actual subtitle of this? No, it's just American Odyssey. Actually, I think I have this book, but in different form. Well, now I have a beat-up copy that I can destroy, if I so choose to research Detroit ever again, which I've done for years, but I've taken somewhat of a sabbatical from it. The Patton Papers, 1885 to 1940, obviously about General Patton, George S. Jr. Nice fat book, but a volume 2, so Martin Bloomison. Not gonna. Obviously, everyone knows who Patton is. If you don't, you probably don't know anything. Cy Whitaker's Place by Joseph C. Lincoln. One of those famous book a year authors back in the day. Lincoln was one of them. Obviously, the book's not in great shape. Capinary. I believe I have other books of his. Cape Cod Ballads. MCMIX. I'm going to guess 19. Who knows what year that is? 1908. To FSL. I believe I sold a copy of his Captain Airy for decent money back in the day, but this one's not in good shape, so I'll be keeping that. Anne Rice, Beauty's Release, the conclusion of the classic erotic trilogy of Sleeping Beauty. For several years, I found many copies of the first two books, The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty and Beauty's Punishment or something like that. Yeah, and now suddenly I start finding Beauty's Release, the third volume, which is fortunate because now I can match it up with other books I have. I have several sets of this series for no known reason. The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Color Blindness by Michelle Alexander, with foreword by Cornel West. Obviously, you know. Mass Incarceration. I can't speak. Mass Incarceration. Don't know if I already have this book, but I don't think I do. Mysteries of the Unexplained, How Ordinary Men and Women Have Experienced the Strange, the Uncanny, and the Incredible. And one of the strange things I experienced last night was somebody staring into my window. Of course, the blinds were on, and you can hear the cricket chirping out there. It was right over in that area. I was doing laundry late and also some dishes. And I walked by my window and I'm like, what the fuck is this head-shaped shadow in my window? My enlightened window. It was lit. And yeah, I've never seen that shadow. I've walked past that window obviously thousands of times and never seen anything that looked like a head shadowed outside. And the big moon, wherever it's fucking the harvest moon. It was definitely head-shaped, and I have a blind there. What are those called? Venetian blinds. Plus, I have plastic over the window, so it's not like they could see in. Maybe they could see in through the cracks. Maybe they didn't see me looking at them. I actually went up to the window and tapped it, but obviously I wasn't going to fucking go outside and possibly confront an armed person. Who knows who the fuck was out there, but that was creepy. Of course, my neighbor has a light that goes on, but it didn't seem to go on last night. But he has a camera pointed towards it, so maybe he saw something. Should probably go ask him. It's just strange because the other day I believe somebody was following me as I was out walking, but who knows? Don't know. It's a mystery, not unexplained as well. Goodbye, Bob.